I would like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to put forward my plea. My name is Renae Lawrence. I am the only female member of the so-called Bali Nine and the only one to receive a determinate sentence. I am breaking my self-imposed silence to request President of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, and Mr. Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, to consider a reduction in the sentence for the remaining 5 prisoners of the Bali Nine who are all serving life sentences. In Indonesian law, life means whole life. When we were arrested in 2005, Matthew Norman, Michael Shugai, Scott Rush, Martin Stevens and C.E. Chan were all very young men. Matthew Norman was the youngest at 18 years of age, and Michael Shugai and Scott Rush were just 19. In more recent years, these young men have been placed in different jails, some in Bali and some in Java. In my own case, I was sentenced to 20 years in 2006 and received good behaviour reductions of 7 years in total, and was released after serving 13 years. During my time in Kerobokan jail, I learnt to speak Bahasa reasonably well and became trusted by the prison officials enough to be able to assist in everyday chores in Kerobokan. I learnt Indonesia from other Indonesian prisoners, thus resulting in a reasonable grasp of the written language. During my time in Bali, I became fond of the Indonesian people and was treated well by the jail authorities. We always had sufficient food and the opportunity for activities of varying kinds within the precinct. I made quite a few good friends amongst the prisoners, their visitors, and also the prison staff. I have no quarrel with the Indonesian legal system, but I continue to worry about these 5 young men who have received the same sentence as me, may well be back in Australia with their families by now. Their families constantly travel to Indonesia to visit their sons at great expense. Yet their anguish remains as each year goes by. These young men are losing hope. We acknowledge that we did the wrong thing, and we continue to apologise to the Indonesian government and the citizens of Indonesia and Australia and its people for our stupidity. If it were possible that they were granted a determinate sentence, that hope would return. Should that not be possible, then a prisoner exchange between Australia and Indonesia would enable more ready access to their Australian sons, and indeed Indonesian families more ready access to their sons and daughters that are in an Australian prison. These humane actions would in some small part bring our nations further together. I hope at some future time to be able to visit Indonesia again. Terima kasih and thank you.